चले कहाँ तुम विनती करी तेरी, पाँव पड़े तोरे कितना मनाया फिर भी नहीं सुनी रे, छोड़ के कहाँ चले रे। घिरत रात अंधेरा डरावे, लोहित मोहे रुलावे, पंछी अकेला सुना है बसेरा, बाट तकत तुरे आवन की, छोड़ के कहाँ चले।
Assam, home of the Brahmaputra, showcases the life-giving largesse of the mighty river Brahmaputra that dominates the world of this land and its people. Son of Brahma, the great river that wends its way from the Mansarovar lake in the higher reaches of the Tibetan plateau as the Sangpo, through Arunachal as the Siag, and onto the plains of Assam, the second largest state in the northeast. This is Sadia, once upon a time a bustling commercial town. But the devastating earthquake of 1950 not only forced the Brahmaputra to change its course, but also completely took away with it that bustling town. This place Sadia in Upper Assam has an interesting position in the history, geography and mindset of Assam. Like several rivers coming down to meet near here, Sadia, once upon a time, was also the meeting point of various tribes of the hills. From Sadia, crossing the river, we can go to Margarita, another historically important place in this corner of the country. Margarita is primarily a coal township. This area is actually Lekha Pani, and Margarita and Lido are one of India's oldest industrial centers. While coal was discovered here around 1880, this Lido colliery was commissioned in 1882, while the railway track was laid from Dibrugarh to here in 1884. The Lido Road begins at the village of that name, which is one of the railheads of the Bengal-Assam Railway in the valley of the Upper Brahmaputra. To liberate North Burma during the Second World War and to reopen an enduring line of communication with China, there had to be a Lido Road at that point of time eventually. The Lido Road was named after American General Joe Stilwell, who supervised it and was called the Stilwell Road. No drumbeats heralded the start of the Lido Road, though it has not lacked recognition since. It was long before security permitted the mention of it. What existed previously was the path for mules, the refugee trailed along which the Exodus Front Burma has stumbled 2 years earlier. The Americans would bring to these wild hills bulldozers, power shovels, caterpillars, cranes, steamrollers in massive mechanized processions from the United States production lines 12,000 miles away across 2 oceans and past 3 continents. They would hack a path through the tangle of swamp and forest, climb the clouds and carve a ledge along the cliffs above them. They would build a road there more majestic than the Romans made, 30 feet wide, double-tracked, metalled, trenched, banked and bridged. under the blazing sun, in dust, in mud and mists and rain, building even by moonlight and paraffin flare. The roadmakers would advance at the rate of a mile a day. Mountains, malaria, and the monsoons were the angry gods who fought the roadmakers, and water was their master weapon. In 1944, the year of completion, 175 inches of rain fell in northern Burma. The road demanded much. Some said it demanded all. Yet, the engineer's concept did not dictate the soldier's strategy. They interacted, or if you prefer it, merged. After the Second World War ended, and after India attained independence, this road suddenly lost its importance with India and China fighting a war in 1962. The Stilwell Road was finally closed. And this is Lido, India's last railway station in the east. This railway track is very interesting. It is the last track in India's eastern part. More interesting, it was while laying the rail tracks that the engineers accidentally hit upon petroleum bubbling out of a spring. While the railway track was laid from Dibrugarh to here, in Lido, way back in 1884, coal from here continues to go all over India, since the first coal train was flagged off in the same year, 1884.
मेरा नाम है जी नमस्ते। ये लीडो स्टेशन एन ऑफ रेलवे का लास्ट स्टेशन है। मेरा ड्यूटी है डिब्रूगढ़ से लीडो तक, उसके जाने 105 किलोमीटर है। ये समय लगेगा 3 घंटा। गुवाहाटी तक जाएगा। लीडो से गुवाहाटी तक 574 किलोमीटर।
We unit members felt such vivacity, energy and life while we sat in this train while it sped by. It was a beautiful autumn evening, and as you can see, the falling sun rays were denoting actually that it was only 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Imagine we were at the easternmost tip of our great country, India. And looking forward as the train moved, we went from these pebbly railway tracks right through water-filled green landscape, and we realized what a densely vegetated, beautiful landscape Upper Assam is. The train is slowing down, and we realized that we have entered the town of Digboy. The steamy rainforests of the Brahmaputra valley in Upper Assam provided expression to the barren power of petroleum in India. Cradling fast-flowing tributaries and fierce tribals, the valley became India's Valley of Energy, heralding the petroleum industry in the country. Legend has it that an elephant hauling logs from the forest returned with distinct traces of oil on its feet and trail. The excited owners of the elephant followed its footprints and found seepage of oil bubbling on the surface. "Dig, boy, dig." Probably this is what the Englishman cried out to his elephant, hence the name Dig Boy. From that day, this tiny habitat among the rolling hills of Assam found a place in the map of world's petroleum industry. Petroleum, literally meaning rock oil, was known and used in many lands for thousands of years. As the world discovered more uses of petroleum, the demand set men for its search. The first success was the historic well drilled by Colonel Edwin Drake at Titusville, Pennsylvania in 1859, when crude oil was struck at a depth of 69 feet, producing about 1,000 gallons of crude oil per day. 30 years or so before the Drake's well opened way for the great new industry, men were exploring in Assam, in the extreme northeast part of India, not for petroleum but for coal. In the dense jungles of Upper Assam, they found both. In April 1828, a young British officer in charge of one of the Upper Assam expeditions ventured up the Dihing River, a tributary of the Brahmaputra River, and noticed sticky signs of oil on the surface of water. The officer recorded his observation of surface evidence of the existence of oil in his report. Way back in 1837, a British Army major exploring in the same region discovered several oil springs close to his camp on the bank of Nampong River, a place hitherto unknown to civilization. The jungles are full of an odor of petroleum. It came from the bed of Budi Dihing River. Bubbling gas and green petroleum on the surface, noted Lieutenant R. Wilcox of the 46th Regiment Native Infantry. In 1865, Mr. H.P. Medlicott, a government geologist, was deputed to visit the coal areas of Assam. His report recommended experimental borings to taste the value of oil show at Makum, close to Margarita, towards the south of the Dihing River. The first boring for oil in Assam began near an oil seepage at Naharpung, 3 miles southwest of Jaipur, in November 1866. After hitting dry in initial 2 wells, the efforts of the pioneers were rewarded when they struck crude oil in the 3rd well on 26 March 1867 at a depth of 118 feet. The drillers in Assam created history in India, followed closely the success of the drillers in America. Early reference to the usage of petroleum products was found in the notings of Mr. S.E. Peel, an adventurist tea planter who sailed up the Dihing River in early 1879 up to the Nongyang Lake on Burmese frontier. He had mentioned the existence of oil springs near Margarita. Talking to village elders at Insa, Just upstream from Makum, he found evidence that kerosene was being extracted from oil obtained from local oil springs. These unknown men were the initial pathfinders who started the legacy of petroleum refining industry in India. In 1882, the Assam Railways and Trading Company Limited, AR&T Company, began the construction of a railway line from Dibrugarh to Margarita to reach the coal and tea producing areas of Upper Assam. While building the railway line, the company engineers noticed oil on the ground near one of the camps in the forest. Some reports say that an elephant they were using guided the discovery by coming into the camp with oil on its feet. The place where oil was noticed soon became the scene of drilling by the AR&T Company. They struck oil. The place was Digboy. The well became the first oil well sunk up to a depth of 162 feet and stands today as a monumental testimony of the first commercial discovery of crude oil in India. In 1893, the Assam Oil Syndicate directed a small refinery at Margarita to refine the crude oil produced at Margarita and Digboy. Details of the equipment used in the refinery are lacking, but it is almost certain that hemispherical retorts or stills arranged sequentially in bench formations were used for refining crude. Refining was carried out in batches, a lengthy, messy and cumbersome task. Products that could be made were barely a handful, mainly lamp oil, fuel oil and greases. It is learned from the archives that the then agent and general manager of the company was not unduly perturbed by the poor quality of kerosene turned out from his refinery, which was sold at Rs 4 per mound, 45.46 liters, as he did not receive a single customer complaint. Let us trace the journey of a centurion. The Digboy Refinery, 1901. The Digboy Refinery commissioned capacity 500 barrels per day. 1902. First lot of kerosene produced and sent to the market. 1921. The Burma Oil Company took over Digboy Refinery from Assam Oil Company. 1923. The Digboy Refinery entirely rebuilt. 1931. The paraffin wax production started. 1932. The crude oil distillation unit, Adilano plant and dub scrapping unit commissioned. 1938. Bitumen plant installed. 1950. The drum plant installed. 1953. The gasoline extraction plant installed. 1954. The lube oil distillation unit commissioned. 1981. The Digboy Refinery, along with the marketing operations of Assam Oil Company, became Assam Oil Division of the Indian Oil Corporation Limited. 1996. Phase-wise modernization of the Digboy Refinery commenced, and 2001, the Digboy Refinery completed 100 years of operation. There are many firsts associated with the Digboy Refinery. It's the first refinery east of Suez and first in Asia. The Digboy Refinery laid the foundation of petroleum refining in India. It was the first pioneered and sustained till 1981 vertically integrated operations encompassing petroleum exploration and production, refining and marketing. It's the first in India to develop the concept of customized products. Marketed 116 products to match individual customer requirement. It's been the first in India to utilize natural gas for industrial as well as domestic use. It's been the first in India to export petroleum products. It's been the first in India to utilize the underground pipelines for transportation of bulk petroleum products from Digboy to Tinsukia way back in 1926. It's been the first in the world to use vacuum residue, short path distillation technology in the petroleum industry for processing heavy vacuum residue. It's been the first to develop the culture of preventive and predictive maintenance practices, which enabled units of the 30s vintage operate beyond the 90s. It's been the first to produce generations of oil men in India who later rose to commanding heights in shaping the future of petroleum industry in the world. This journey of ours moves forward with the journey of the Brahmaputra, and it's a fascinating one. Not only we have understood that so many rivers flow down to become the Brahmaputra, but it gave us a complete history of coal and petroleum, of Margarita, Big Boy, and the history of the Steel Well Road.
सजना चले कहाँ तुम विनती करी तेरी पाँव पड़े तोरे कितने